In a quiet suburban street, everyone knew Martha Lane as the friendly neighbor who baked cookies for kids and waved politely every morning. She smiled. She nodded. She existed in the background like a comforting shadow, invisible in her perfection. Nobody suspected that behind the pristine curtains, something had been growing for years. It started with small oddities, doors left unlocked, windows slightly ajar at night, faint noises like whispers traveling through the walls. People dismissed it as drafts, creaks, or imagination normal in old houses, but the pets started disappearing. First a Siamese cat, then a golden retriever, then a small dachshund that vanished overnight. The neighborhood joked about strays or coyotes, never imagining that the source was one of their own. Surveillance cameras in front yards began malfunctioning at night, flickering for seconds, always pointing toward Martha's house. Nothing else in the street experienced glitches, just that house. A teenage boy walking home from his evening shift vanished one Tuesday, leaving behind only a half-eaten sandwich in his backpack. Police questioned neighbors, scoured woods and rivers, but no trace of the boy was found. Martha volunteered to help, flashlight in hand, guiding search parties through the darkness like a guardian angel. Her voice was calm, soothing, unshakable. Everyone trusted her instinctively. But behind her eyes, a plan had already been executed months before. The metallic smell started again, faint yet suffocating, creeping beneath doors, into vents, leaving a trace of something hidden. A neighbor complained of strange sounds late at night, a dragging, scraping, low thump from below. Officers arrived at 11:11 p.m., flashlight beams cutting through the dark, knocking firmly on the perfectly painted front door. Martha answered instantly, composed, hair perfectly in place, a polite smile across her face. "Good evening, officers," she said calmly, hands folded in front of her. Her house was immaculate, walls bare of clutter, furniture minimal, everything aligned with mathematical precision. One officer froze near the living room, hearing faint breathing beneath the floorboards. Slow, deliberate, human. A whisper followed, almost too faint to detect. "Help me." Martha tilted her head, observing their reactions like a teacher grading students. "Old pipes," she offered with a shrug, masking the danger with casual explanation. The officers glanced at each other, unconvinced, and proceeded toward the basement. The first door was locked with multiple bolts, industrial, reinforced, built to contain rather than store. The metallic smell intensified, thickened almost physical, filling lungs with dread. Steps down the stairs groaned under the boots, echoing through silence like a warning. At the bottom a second soundproof door awaited. Solid steel, no interior handle, ominous and precise. They forced it open, revealing 3 young adults chained inside, pale, trembling, alive but hollowed by isolation. One of them was the teenage boy, another 2 missing 4 months from surrounding towns. Martha stood at the top of the stairs, calm, observing, never panicking. Detective demanded why. Her voice was soft, almost philosophical, because fear is honest. Silence tells the truth. Interrogation lasted 11 hours. She never raised her voice. She explained she wanted to study behavior, human responses to control, stress, and isolation. Investigators found journals, meticulous records of victims' schedules, habits, breathing patterns, emotional reactions. Photographs of neighbors, delivery drivers, and street passers-by filled hundreds of pages. Every detail was recorded with obsessive precision. "Control is clarity," she explained. "The world outside is chaotic. Inside, there is observation, order, and understanding." The courtroom was shocked by her calmness, her detached explanation of months-long confinement. Survivors testified, describing her patience, gentleness, and silent observation, more terrifying than any violent act. Journal pages, blueprints for reinforced basements, and storage records revealed premeditation over years. Martha never expressed anger, regret, or emotion, only observation. Life without parole was handed down, but in prison, she continued to write, study, and catalog human behavior. Guards noted her silence, her steady calm, and the way she watched everyone like a predator disguised as mundane humanity. Outside, the street resumed normal life. Children rode bikes, neighbors waved, pets returned, houses remained well kept, but cameras still flickered at 11:11 p.m. every night, pointing to the same house that once contained hidden terror. People whispered about it, remembered the story, shared it in hushed tones, and never fully trusted perfection again. The victims survived but carried memories of silence, cold observation, and the psychological horror of meticulous patience. Martha's philosophy of calm and control left a mark deeper than physical chains ever could. The neighborhood learned a haunting lesson. The quietest person may hide the darkest secret. Evil doesn't scream. It smiles politely and helps you carry groceries. For years it observes, waits, and chooses its moment. The house remains demolished, the basement concrete filled, but the story continues to haunt minds. Every flicker of a camera, every metallic smell in memory, every glance at a perfectly smiling neighbor reminds people of the truth. Trust is fragile. Routine is deceptive. Silence can be lethal. The lesson of fear learned in stillness outweighs any scream ever heard, and the quietest monster may be living next door. Police investigations reopened cold cases across 3 states, searching for patterns. Connections were circumstantial, but the suspicion remained, a ghost hovering in every corner of the investigation. Survivors moved away but never escaped the psychological impact, their sleep interrupted, hearts racing at every unexpected sound. Martha's calm, measured smile, her silence during chaos, remained etched in memory. Books, podcasts, and online discussions debated the case for years, dissecting motives and methodology. Experts called it controlled, calculated terror, while neighbors simply called it nightmarial. The house may be gone, but the blueprint for fear persists in the minds of anyone who hears the story. It's a warning. Perfection often masks the darkest intent. The most polite gestures can hide patience honed over years for control and observation. Evil is not loud. Evil waits quietly in plain sight. Prison interviews showed her calmness unbroken. She answered questions methodically. "Do you regret it?" asked an interviewer. Martha tilted her head, smiled faintly, and replied, "Regret is for accidents. Observation is art." Guards whispered about the unnerving way she catalogued behaviors and studied human reactions like a lab experiment. Each answer, each pause, reinforced her detachment, terrifying everyone around her. The final statement during her trial left courtroom observers in stunned silence. Silence reveals everything. Noise hides the truth. Outside, normal life continued. Lawns trimmed, mail delivered, schools reopened. But the terror lingered unseen, in shadows, memories, whispers, camera glitches, and subtle metallic scents. Survivors heal outwardly but forever carry the psychological scars of calculated observation. People learn that terror isn't always visible, isn't always noisy, and isn't always violent. 9 years of observation, patience, and silent control can leave permanent marks on an entire neighborhood. Every perfect neighbor now comes under scrutiny. Curtains are left closed, children watched closely, strangers eyed warily. The house itself may be demolished, but the shadow of what existed remains. Cameras still flicker, memories linger, and the understanding that evil can exist politely smiles on anyone passing by. The neighborhood whispers her name, sharing the story as a cautionary tale. Every creak, every small unexplained noise becomes a reminder, and every act of kindness now carries a shadow of doubt. Evil wears patience, smiles politely, and waits for the perfect moment. Martha Lane was the perfect neighbor, the quiet monster, the study in patience and control. The basement was the heart of terror, demolished physically but eternal psychologically. Her victims survived, yet the lesson remains. Fear is often silent, and calm can be lethal. Police and psychologists still study the case for insights into human behavior and calculated evil. Normal life masks danger, perfect smiles hide obsession. Silence can terrify more than screams. And the dark universe of Crimson Files continues, a reminder that monsters may live next door, always observing, always calculating.